Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today I want to share with you how you can use your dies as stencils. Today's card was made from this inspiration photo from the November challenge from Joy Clair Stamps. Now a quick rundown of this challenge. This month is anything goes, or you can go with the theme stencil it. Now to play along with this challenge, all you need to do is create a card or project using the photo as inspiration and an anything goes or stencil it theme. Post your project on your blog or online gallery and link to the Joy Clair blog. And even though we love to see Joy Clair stamps used, any brand is acceptable. Now you must link directly to the Joy Clair blog. Your projects must be new. You can enter as many times as you want, and then you just need to add your link to the end links on the Joy Clair blog. So moving on to how I made my card. Here's a list of the supplies. Now if you want, you can pause this, grab the supplies you need, and make this card along with me, or you can always scroll back to this point in the video and use this for reference. Now starting off, I am using the Joy Clair Stamps Fall Leaves stamp set. I've got some computer paper that I've cut into squares, and I also have my circle dies ready to go. Now in this stamp set, I'm only going to be using those solid leaf stamps. This is a great stamp to do some really fun stamp layering, and there are a lot of examples of this over on the Joy Clair Pinterest page if you want to go check that out. But for today, I'm just going to be using the solid stamps. So the first thing I want to do is find some circle dies that allow the leaves to fit inside of them. I'm going to eventually stamp the leaves inside of my stenciled circles, so I want to go ahead and make sure that they're going to fit inside there. To do that, I'm just holding up these dies to the backing sheet of the stamp set. That shows you what the stamps are going to look like, so I can size them very easily that way. So I won't be using all of the solid leaves in this set. I'll only end up using about 5 of them, and I want a nice variety. So I'll be using the 5 I'm pointing to right there. And I just want to go ahead and make sure that I've got all of my dies lined up there. Just finish lining and sizing these up. And then I'm going to move on to die cutting. Now die cutting these is very simple. If you wanted to, you could use like a post-it note or masking paper. But for quick stencils that I'm making on my own that I'm just going to use this one time, I like to use computer paper. It's very easy to die cut through with any type of die you might have on hand, and also it's so thin it allows the ink to really get through, create some nice crisp lines, and I don't need to press too hard or worry about any ink not getting all the way around the edges. So I'm starting out with my largest stencil. I've already got my distressings chosen. I'm using some festive berries, vintage photo, crushed olives, spice marmalade, and mustard seed. I'm also using my mini ink blending tools to sponge these on, and I've got some painter's tape to hold those stencils down so they don't move around on me. Now one thing about computer paper stencils that you need to be a little bit careful of is sometimes they want to crumple up on you whenever you're ink blending through them. The best thing I can say about that is don't rub over them, kind of pounce. And your distressings blend really easily anyway, so you don't need to do a whole lot of rubbing. So just do a little pouncing motion and you should be fine. Now I'm just switching back and forth between different circle stencils here. I started with the largest, went to some medium-sized ones, and then I went to my smallest. And for each circle, each different size of circle that I'm using here, I'm using a different ink, and I'm keeping that ink for that particular size. So each one of my smallest circles is going to be orange, each one of my largest is going to be red, and so on. And that way I'm not creating any kind of ink blending that I don't want to. So since I've used red on this stencil, if I were to go in with yellow and try to ink blend over that, it would pull some of that red off the edge, even though it's already soaked into the paper a little bit, and then I'd get a really muddy kind of orange color, and I don't want that. So the easiest thing I found is just to go ahead and use the same color, or if you wanted to switch it up, you could always flip this over and use the other side too. Now I'm just finishing up here and doing different colors, kind of filling in all of that white space on the background. I'm not making these too specific, like any sort of length apart. I'm just putting them here and there wherever I find the space. And I also want to make sure that I stencil some in that hang off the edges and also fill in the corners just to make this look more like a cohesive background. Now, whenever I have some that hang off the edges, I just need to remember that when I go and stamp into these, that I need to line it up like the stamp would be in the middle of that circle hanging off the edge. And I'll show you more of what I mean by that in just a moment. So I finished up with that last little stencil. There is a look at that background. That would be a really fun background to do. Add some strings onto that, and then you've got a great balloon background for a birthday card. But I'm going to add in these solid leaves. Now I am using black dye ink here for a really graphic look. And here's what I mean by lining up that stamp like it would be in the center of the circle. You can see I've already done all of my circles in the center there, filled those in with the stamps, but on this one I needed to make sure that that stamp was hanging off the edge just like the circle is. So that way it looks as if I've taken a piece of pattern paper and just cut it up, and I've got some of those edges that would naturally get cut whenever I cut a piece of pattern paper. Now I'm also using my Misty to do my stamping, and that is because I needed to go ahead and double stamp this, sometimes even triple stamp it, to get that really bold black color against the Distress inks. And being able to double and triple stamp really just helps me get the placement right and get that color really nice and dark. So I filled in all of those circles with the different leaves, and again I kept each leaf to a certain color, so I didn't switch it up at all. You can see all of the yellow circles have that particular stamp in there. All of the green circles have that particular leaf in there. Then I moved on to my sentiment. Now in this stamp set, you've got a few different sentiments to choose from, but on this one I went ahead and chose out the Wishing You Blessings This Season sentiment. Now I went ahead and also did some die cutting with the Tonic Mixed Rectangles die set. I die cut a square from a rectangle from white cardstock, and then I went ahead and die cut the next size up in that set. That's a scalloped rectangle. I die cut that from black cardstock, and I did that off camera. Then with my Misty, I'm stamping that sentiment right in the center with some black dye ink. I'll go ahead and mat that sentiment panel right on top of the black scalloped rectangle for a nice matted look, and then I'm going to add this onto my card front. Now before I do that, I wanted to add a little baker's twine bow, a black and white baker's twine bow. Now if you wanted to and make this a little bit quicker, you could grab out your hot glue gun. I didn't feel like waiting for mine to heat up, so I grabbed out my multi-medium mat, put a little squirt of it right in the center top of that sentiment panel, and then put on a little baker's twine bow that I quickly tied up. Nothing fancy there. I cut off the ends of those just to make it a little bit shorter, put on an acrylic block to help everything dry nice and firmly. And then I added some black fun foam onto the back of that sentiment panel, and I will pop that up in the bottom right hand corner, and that's going to finish off this card. It was super easy and fun to make. It's not your traditional fall card, but that is why I love playing along with this challenge, because each and every time I see that inspiration photo, I kind of step outside my comfort zone and I make a card that I normally wouldn't think of making. Now here's a few final looks at that finished card. The rest of the Joy Clair Stamps design team has also made some great cards to go along with this challenge. If you need more inspiration to help you get started on your own project, you can head over to the blog post. I will leave that link down in the description box below. And that's also where you're going to find the end links so you can enter a project that you make for this challenge. Thanks so much for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe to the Joy Clair Stamps YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for watching.